Hi everyone, this is Steve with Dehydrated Store. Today we're going to be learning how to make smoothies and protein shakes with dehydrated food. What I like to do is have dehydrated ingredients to make protein shakes and smoothies in my pantry at the ready. And when I'm interested in a shake, I can just whip one up really easily. No cutting involved, all my things are pre-sliced, and I can throw it in a blender and go. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. Throughout this process, we'll learn how to dehydrate a few items: strawberries, bananas, and spinach. I'll also talk about some dehydrated powders you can have in your pantry, and I'll give some tips about food storage along the way. So let's get started. You will of course always want to wash your produce before dehydrating. Food dehydration does decrease the risk of growth of certain contaminants. In particular, waterborne bacteria have a harder time growing in dehydrated food given the lack of water.
Regardless, you always want to use proper hand hygiene to reduce other risks.
You can cut your bananas horizontally or vertically, whatever you prefer. I like banana chips, so I'm going to cut them horizontally. Typically want to do 1/8 inch slices with these. They could be a little bit larger if you want, 1/4 inch. They will dry either way. The most important thing really is just to make sure they're about the same thickness on your tray, so they all dry with about the same amount of time.
For strawberries,
You'll want to remove and discard the hull, and then cut these into 1/4 inch to 8 inch slices. I'm only dehydrating a few strawberries here, but typically you'll do this in a large batch. One of the great things about food dehydration is you can store your items for 10 or more years, and therefore you can buy these items when they're in season, have them year round when they're out of season, and save a lot of money that way. In addition, you can go to your local farmer's market or produce auction and purchase a much higher amount of these items in bulk and then dehydrate them all at once. And the initial time investment up front will save you time running to the grocery store on individual trips in the future, and also save you a lot of money by getting the discounted price of bulk items. When you go to produce auctions, you can get especially cheap items because a lot of times the strawberries and produce are close to what would be their expiration date otherwise, and they will sell these items by the truckload, or at least by the multiple box load, where that amount which most families can't eat before it would expire. But with food dehydration, you can dehydrate all those items and use them year round. You'll want to spread your items across your dehydrator tray, evenly spaced, being careful not to overlap them as much as possible. Then we'll spray them with a light mist of lemon juice. I like to put my lemon juice in a spray bottle, food grade spray bottle, so you can mist that and make that process a lot easier. You can dehydrate many different types of items in the same session. Things you do want to take into account are if the items that you're dehydrating have the same temperature. Most fruits are going to be dehydrated at about 125 degrees Fahrenheit. There are some exceptions to that. If you look at our cookbook, the Ultimate Dehydrator Cookbook, you'll see an A to Z list of fruits and vegetables and their respective drying times and preferred temperature based on our recommendations. But overall, most fruits are around 125 degrees, so you want to kind of pair your items together. So in this instance, I can do my bananas and my strawberries in the same batch because they are the same temperature. The dehydration time, how long you keep them in the dehydrator, will be different based on items, but it's okay to intermingle items with different drying times because you can simply remove the trays when items are finished, or you can just leave them in there because it isn't really possible to over dry in dehydration. Now you can simply hold your tray over the sink and spray with lemon juice. Spraying with lemon juice helps to preserve the color of your finished product. In addition, vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin, so it is sometimes lost in the dehydration process. By adding an additional boost of vitamin C, we can help prevent some of that. You're going to want to dehydrate your strawberries and bananas at 125 degrees Fahrenheit. The bananas will take about 10 hours, and the strawberries will take about 8 to 10 hours. Dehydrating spinach is a little bit easier. If you wash your spinach, which you should, you'll simply want to use a paper towel or towel to dab the spinach until it's damp but not soaking wet. You don't want to put soaking wet items into your dehydrator typically. And then you don't need to spray these with lemon juice or anything like that. You can simply pile them on your dehydrator tray. It's okay if they're overlapping, and place them in the dehydrator. Luckily, we do have multiple dehydrators here. So we're going to put these spinach leaves in a different dehydrator, since these will dehydrate at 110 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas the fruits were 125 degrees. If you don't have different dehydrators, that's okay. You can rotate different sessions with different fruits and vegetables on different days or throughout the day. All right, so we've dehydrated all the ingredients. The spinach we dehydrated at 110 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 hours. The strawberries at 125 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 hours. And the bananas at 125 degrees Fahrenheit for about 12 hours. So let's open these up and see what they look like. When properly dehydrated, your strawberries should feel dry to the touch like paper. They should rattle in a mason jar. And they shouldn't stick together or feel moist. Final product will look like this. They'll click when dropped on the table. You can see this nice beautiful color that was preserved with the vitamin C that we added. When bent, the individual chips will snap in half. Dehydrated spinach, when properly dry, will also feel dry to the touch like paper and will crumble very easily in your hands. Bananas, when properly dehydrated, will also rattle when shaken in a jar. When touched, they should not feel moist or damp, and they should not stick together. They will click when dropped on the table. Can't smell these right now, but they smell fantastic. There's a really strong banana aroma coming off of these. So you can choose to make these smoothies with any ingredients you want. I typically like to use, for my dehydrated ingredients, spinach, bananas, and strawberries, but you can also dehydrate a frozen fruit medley, for example, something like this, which is very easy to do. You simply pour your frozen fruits on your dehydrator tray and dehydrate at 125 degrees Fahrenheit for about 12 to 14 hours for those. I also like to use a lot of powdered ingredients in my shakes. I typically use powdered peanut butter, whey protein powder, and powdered cinnamon. For the peanut butter, you unfortunately can't make dehydrated peanut butter at home, so you can often purchase this powdered from a manufacturer that have commercial equipment that can do that. What I like to do is buy this in bulk, powdered peanut butter, and individually package it into vacuum bags and store it that way, which will last for 10, 15, or more years, and just open the bags individually and use them as I need them. For protein powder, if you are an active weightlifter or an athletic person, you may choose to increase the amount of protein that you take in daily. It's often best to try to use natural forms of protein, but when you need that extra supplement boost, you can use a powdered version of protein, such as soy or whey powder. And for powdered cinnamon, you can make your own by dehydrating cinnamon sticks and grinding them, or you can purchase powdered cinnamon from the store. I also sometimes like to use yogurt in my shakes. You can actually make your own yogurt with your dehydrator, and we have a video on our channel that will show you how to do that. The really great thing about having all these powdered and dehydrated ingredients on hand is you don't have to worry about them spoiling. They're lightweight and easy to store. You can store for long term in a vacuum bag with an oxygen pack and then double bag inside a Mylar bag if you wish to store your items for 10 years or so. But if you want to have them more on hand, easier to reach, you can store them in mason jars with oxygen packs as well. What I typically do is both. I will have my long-term storage that I individually open as needed, and then I'll have my short-term storage in my pantry for when I want to make a shake. All right, so let's mix up our shake. We're going to add all our ingredients to this NutriBullet and see how it turns out. What I like to do is use about 2 bananas, several strawberries, handful of spinach, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. You always want to remember when you're making your dehydrated shakes that the dehydrator will shrink the size of your food, so you want to add less volume than you typically would for a shake with fresh, non-dehydrated fruits. I'll use 1/4 to 1/2 cup of whey protein powder, and I use about 2 tablespoons of powdered peanut butter. All right, so we'll just fill it to the fill line and blend it up. So this tastes really awesome. It's an easy to make snack. in the morning, after the gym, or on the go. You can have your dehydrated ingredients ready in your pantry and pick and choose what you're feeling that day. So there you have it. That was making dehydrated smoothies and protein shakes. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and see our other videos. Thanks.